So, Ableton released an app. Who thought that would happen? I want to talk a little bit about how I feel about the app in its current state and what I think is missing and can hopefully be added later on. So, obviously, it's meant more as just a sketchpad, which is ultimately what I want out of a mobile app. I've been hoping for something like this for years now. I've been waiting for something similar to the GarageBand to Logic Link, where I have some kind of mobile interface where I can just quickly get down ideas and then move it into my full DAW on my computer to finish. And the problem with other apps that I found, like, Oxy and Groovebox was one that I liked, is that once I'm done with the idea, there's no real way to bring it into Live or Logic or Studio One or whatever program I happen to be using at the time. So I've been hoping for something to come along that will actually support proper ALS export. And this is about as good as we're going to get since it's first party. So as you can see, I've already been playing with this thing quite a lot. But let's go ahead and create a new project, and we'll take a look at the interface. The entire thing is based around session view, basically. There's no real arrangement. You get, of course, 8 tracks, 8 scenes. We've all seen that. What I really like, though, is the sort of immediacy of which you can get down ideas. It's pretty similar to Groovebox, which is an app that I actually really like. And that was the closest thing I was able to get to, my ideal mobile sketchpad. But this, of course, gets a bit closer. It loses some points for usability and features, but I've been using it just fine. I've been more than happy to, put up with that sacrifice, given the fact that I can then bring my stuff into Live. And it's all native Live devices. All of these presets here, these are all drum racks that come with the full version of Live. If we go back here, all of these, synth patches, these are all wavetable patches. These are all stuff that's native to Live. And you can even get sampler. It's obviously kind of pared down. This is just, basic macro controls and your effects. But it is, in essence, the full version of sampler in that once I record a sample, so we can then chop this down, of course. This all works with just, pinch and drag type of thing, normal gestures that you would expect, although it's not initially super clear. The only reason I know that is because I watched the video that Ableton put out, but now, I can, of course, once I move this into Live, that will, of course, appear in Sampler. It all carries over. And, of course, the benefit of these all being native Live devices, all of the synth patches being wavetable, is that you can actually get some really beautiful sounds. One in particular that I've been really liking is, I think, it's this one? ASMR Cave. And one of my favorite projects that I've made in this app used ASMR Cave through some heavy distortion to create this cool sort of, clipped, ominous soundscape with some heavy drums over it. But yeah, and the beauty of this is, whereas with a lot of apps, you just get the stock sound and that's it. And there's always a bit of, guilt for using the preset. But in reality, that's all you can really do with these apps. But because these are all wavetable patches at its core, you can then go into Live and you use these as starting points, and then you have the knowledge that when you're done sketching out in here, you can then go over to Live and you can tweak to your heart's content. You can do all types of shit. You can throw that into an instrument rack, start building out patches on top of that, and just, you can just go wild. It's great. And of course, for effects, we have EQ, chorus ensemble, phaser flanger, which is really nice to have, those two, the two new dimension effects from Live 11 in the app. Only get the regular delay, but that's, not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't have expected, echo or anything like that. You get Redux, which is a fun addition. You get just the regular reverb, no hybrid or convolution or anything like that. It's just a sketchpad. Keep your expectations in check. And then for saturation and distortion, we just got the normal saturator, but you can drive it quite hard if you put it up into, one of these like hard clip, or that works pretty well. You just throw it way up. And then we've got pad effects, which is basically it's an extra send effect that can be controlled individual to each pad. In terms of things that I'm not really enjoying about it, there are only two major flaws I've noticed in my time actually, actively using the app. Most of it has been just a great experience. The most frustrating thing to me is that the method for getting down notes is actually, it's a little unconventional if you've used other apps before, but it's all centered around capture, which is something that was originally introduced in Live 10. But basically, I'll just play my little riff here, hit the capture button, and it will try to figure out, the tempo of whatever I just played and capture whatever it is I just did. It doesn't work quite as well as the live implementation in my experience. Sometimes I'll, be messing around and then I'll wait like a bar and then I'll try playing it again, and then it will just grab everything that I just did, including the fucking around, which is a little annoying, but, it's pretty straightforward to delete bars. It's a little awkward to figure out at first, but you have these little bar indicators at the bottom. You can tap them to loop an individual bar, and then you swipe left to delete, and then you can swipe right to duplicate. It's not the easiest thing to figure out, but once you get it, it's super nice, super quick, and really easy to use. And of course, you can just, load in a preset length. So if I want this to be 8 bars, I can just set it to 8 bars and it'll stay that way. 8 bars is the maximum. I'm guessing some of these limitations are going to be raised in future updates, but as it is, I kind of like working within the limitations because it forces me to keep my ideas, to keep them based around the actual ideas and not get too far into, fancy layering and arrangement tricks and all that. Because in this early stage, that's what I want to do, is I want, in essence, to sort of bring, the fun and the creativity and the play into my workflow. Because if I'm just messing around with an app and it's really easy to just tap stuff in, then I'm going to be a little looser with it. I'm going to tap into my creativity a little more. Whereas when you slap down your computer, pull up your full DAW, you're in your big, professional software that paid hundreds of dollars for, there's inherently a bit more pressure, and it's harder to come up with ideas on the spot like that. So having something like this just in your pocket as a sort of jumping off point to get your ideas started is really valuable in my mind. But in terms of note input, that's really the only way you can do it. So it sort of forces you to kind of get up, your finger drumming chops. You can, of course, you can get a keyboard interface. Whoops. Yeah, so you can actually get like a little keyboard, kind of 2-tier thing, a bit like GarageBand. That's a little more easier to use. And then if you want, it's a little bit, it kind of brings over some features from Push, so it ends up feeling a little bit like that. So you can lock down your key, of course, and get this nice little strip here to kind of, test out different scales, so you can really quickly figure out what's going to work for the tone of your song. Come back here, these are all quantized to the scale. You got your note repeat, which is really nice. So if you want to just throw down some 16th notes hi-hats, you don't have to try and get really exact and then quantize them or whatever. I really like the overall feature set of the note input. I think anything else might start to get too bloated. It gives you what you need. You've got both forms of input here, which is handy. You've got your, what is this? Oh, that's where the octaves are. I found it. That's where you change your... Yeah, so in general, I like it. I just wish there was a way to manually input notes. Because, if I'm, sitting on the bus or whatever with my headphones on, it might be a bumpy ride. It might be hard for me to tap this shit in. I would really like to be able to, in particular for if I'm just experimenting with chord progressions, because a lot of times I like to use the mobile apps as a way to experiment with chords and just kind of fuck with the voicing of things and just see what I'm vibing with. And having something like that, like Oxy, for example, is really fast to get down, chords and shit where you're just dragging the notes out. It's really well streamlined. I would like to have something like that in here. It doesn't need to be fancy because GarageBand has a full piano roll just like in Logic, but it's so clunky on a touchscreen that I just never use it, and GarageBand ends up just feeling like a hassle, whereas something more simple like Oxy, it's really straightforward. It's just a good place to sketch out ideas, because that's all I want it to be. I like a full feature set, but I don't want bloat. I don't want things that are just there to be fancy or attract the beat makers or just try to make me want to use it more than I have to, I guess. I don't want to use it as a full DAW. I want this to be a stage in my workflow. So yeah, that's really my main gripe with this thing. The other thing is that if I go back over to this drum channel, let's say that hi-hat sounds a little loud to me. How do I turn it down? Oh, I can't. So basically right now what you have to do is you have to just kind of rely on really carefully tweaking the filter cutoff to roll off those higher frequencies to kind of make it feel less loud without reducing it so much that it sounds muffled. So that kind of works, but it would really be nice to have an actual volume control. I don't know where you'd put it, but it would be nice. I would really appreciate that, because I was working on one in particular where the I loved the idea I was working with. I liked the drum kit. I thought the sounds were really nice, but that hi-hat was just too fucking loud, and I couldn't turn it down. I had to rely on the filter cutoff, and it would have been nice to just really easy, like, oh, this is too loud. Easy. Done. It shouldn't be so complicated. None of this is a reason to not use the app. None of this is a reason to, wait until it's fixed or whatever. It's just things that I would like to see fixed, or fixed isn't the right word. I would like to see them added. It's not up to me what the feature set is, and that's what a lot of people seem to forget with these things. Like, everyone was so angry about Massive X. Remember Massive X? That was a botched release, a lot of people would say, but they didn't owe us anything. And I asked for money, and we gave it if we wanted. That's how it works. End of transaction. If you bought it with kind of the implication that things were going to be taken care of in the future, and they weren't, that's reason to be upset. I've been, sitting on Apple Silicon for the past year waiting for them to update for compatibility with those chips, and it took forever, and I only recently got the effects to work natively. But yeah, it's just, ultimately, I have 2 complaints. It would be nice if they added them. If not, I'm going to keep using it. I think for $6, it's fantastic. And it fills a sort of void in my workflow that I've been really frustrated about not having until now. So it is what it is. And what it is, I think, is a really valuable piece of software from a company that is inherently adamant about not giving up their visions, even with potential financial gain on the table. I love it. I'm so happy that this company just continues to do what they want. It means better stuff for me, and it means no fucking corporate sellouts selling their shit to Gibson or Fender or, I don't know. I'm rambling. Point is, Ableton Note is really good. I like it. I think it's worth the $6. Part of me hoped it would be free, considering we've all already paid, hundreds of dollars for Live in the first place. But the nice thing is that, you don't have to have Live to use this. You can not have Live and just use it as a standalone app, just for what it is. It's still, 8 scenes with 8 tracks and 8 bars per scene. You can still get some pretty cool stuff going in here. And you can export that, share with your friends. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. But if you want, you can use it with Live, and it becomes even more powerful. It unlocks another stage to your creativity where you have that springboard to really get kind of playful with it. Just fuck around with ideas, and it doesn't have to be anything more than that until you're ready, and it's great, and I'm really happy with it. So I would say if this is something that you've been waiting for, $6 for an app like this, I think is pretty undervalued. Andrew Huang priced his Flip sampler at $10, and I think that's worth it. I think this is even more worth it to me. I think I would pay $10. I would pay $15. Yeah, I like it. You don't have to like it, but I think it's worth giving a shot. So yeah, I think it's gonna play a pretty vital role in my workflow, and it's gonna help me, get more ideas started where other times maybe I would have given up on that creative impulse because it was too much effort and too intimidating to try to put it together on my computer. So yeah, try it, don't try it, value my opinion, don't value my opinion, just go make some music.